The Truth Enforcer's Warbond is finally here, and I've tested all 3 weapons as well as the booster. I'll be letting you guys know my thoughts on these weapons and how they will shape the meta of Helldivers 2. There's also some amazing drip, and I'll just be giving brief thoughts on the Unflinching passive, because it's the thing I've tested the least. We'll also go over some of the top comments from the last video for those of you that have been subscribed for a while and have been keeping along with the uploads. Speaking of subscribing, before we dive in, be sure to like the video if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel for more of my Helldivers content. And by the way, come to the live streams because we've built up a great community streaming over there. I've been enjoying streaming with you guys for months now, and more of you guys should come hang out. You got to turn on my YouTube notifications or join the Discord in the pinned comment to know when I stream. So first up, let's get straight into it. In the Truth Enforcer's Warbond is the Reprimand SMG, our first medium penetrating SMG, which is basically a fully automatic verdict. It does 125 damage. It has the same durable damage as the verdict. It has 25 ammo in the magazine, and it has 9 spare mags. Now, the first thing some of you may have noticed is that it does not have the one-handed tag in the description. This is unfortunately a two-handed SMG. So I was absolutely wrong when I was telling people it would be one-handed. A lot of you guys pointed out to me that it was a heavy SMG, and I guess that means that it's two-handed. To be honest with you guys, that just didn't make sense to me because that's like the whole point of SMGs is to be one-handed, so I was dead wrong about that. I do honestly wish it was one-handed though, because I've been waiting for a medium pen SMG. SMGs are my favorite weapon type. I really wanted to use one with the ballistic shield. I guess our medium pen ballistic shield weapon is just the crossbow, which to be fair is one of the most powerful weapons in the game, but I really hope they decide to change this to one-handed in the future. With that being said though, this is one of the strongest assault rifles in the game, at least over on the bot side. All right, so first thing you might notice using this SMG is the recoil absolutely kicks like a freaking horse. It is basically the original Adjudicator's little brother. I highly recommend wearing any armor set that reduces your recoil. Against the bots, I highly recommend the Enforcer armor. It's basically medium plus explosive resistance armor, which is much tankier than regular medium armor, but it's not as slow as heavy armor, and it has the recoil passive. Now for the bugs, just pick +2 grenade because that also has the recoil passive. At the end of the day, wear whatever armor you want. We just got new drip, I understand, you know, but this gun is insanely hard to manage without the recoil armor equipped. It actually kicks that hard. But as a compensation for this recoil, you get 125 damage per bullet on a fully auto weapon, which is bonkers. Now, again, more so against the bots than the bugs. We'll talk about the bugs later, but this SMG is an instant S tier against the bots for me. I played a couple games with this against them, and it is literally ridiculous in my opinion. The 125 damage literally one-taps all the small bots to the chest, by the way. It one-taps a Berserker if you manage to hit them in the head, and it also one-taps Devastators to the head. Now, the reason that this is actually so powerful against the bots is because if you don't hit headshots, it rips apart Devastators with only 7 shots to the chest or 5 shots to a leg. Notably, and I've promoted this strat before, but you can actually shoot off the Gatling arms on the heavy Devastator or the rocket pods on the rocket Devastator in just 3 bullets each at medium to close ranges. I'm telling you, this gun actually rips the bots to shreds. Now, for Berserkers, it can one-shot them in the head, but their head hitbox is super wonky and pretty hard to hit. It only takes 3 bullets to their bellies, which are much bigger and way easier to hit. And another bot that everyone hates, myself especially, the Rocket Striders. Well, this SMG takes 4 bullets to their pelvis, which is an extremely fast time to kill. It is now added to the list of weapons that feel good to shoot against Rocket Striders. So in general, it just has ridiculous breakpoints against all of the mobs. Like, it's pretty much anything you could ask for in a primary weapon against this faction. Now, for enemies like gunships, because this is medium penetrating, the math technically breaks down to 13 bullets per thruster. However, given, I believe this is the same bullet as the verdict, it has massive damage fall off. When I was shooting gunships, it was taking me just over a magazine, sometimes even 2+, just because if there's other enemies nearby, you know, I'm not hitting every bullet at a gunship flying really far away from me. It's not the worst weapon to shoot at them in a pinch. It is possible, but it's not the best weapon for long-range combat, so do take that into account. And that makes sense anyway, given that it's an SMG. You can also pretty much kill a whole Keat sink in like half the magazine if it happens to be facing your teammate. Just spray a bunch of bullets over their way. Overall, this SMG is extremely solid, but it's also just really fun to use against the bots. And I think the really big power in this is the fact that it really doesn't require hitting weak points to feel effective against all of the mobs in this faction. All right, so now the super powerful SMG, let's talk about it against the bugs. And in my opinion, it's not that great against the bugs. It feels kind of mid. The couple enemies on the bug faction I noticed it kills really well are Hive Guards, Alpha Commanders, and Bile Spewers. It takes 4 shots each for all of these to the head, but for mobbing, it doesn't feel great. Even though it has massive damage, it doesn't actually hit really good breakpoints against the mobs. For example, let's just compare this to the Liberator. The Liberator does 70 damage. This does 125 damage. But if you shoot a Hunter in the body, it takes 3 shots from the Liberator, but the Reprimand, it takes 2 shots. And they both one-tap Hunters if you hit them in the head. Against the Warriors, for example, a Liberator, 3 shots a Warrior head. The Reprimander, 2 shots it to the head. So for general mobbing, even though it does have a lot of extra damage, you're only saving 1 bullet, but it only has 25 in the magazine. So you're only saving 1 bullet, but you have way less in the magazine. It's kind of just not that great against the bugs. Now, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, it kills the medium enemies really well. Alpha Commanders, Hive Guards, Bile Spewers. So maybe let's go test it on Charger Butts. Maybe I could make a Stalwart Reprimand build and use it kind of as my heavier killer as well. But unfortunately, it takes over a full magazine to kill a Behemoth Charger Butt. It's like 1 1/3 of a magazine for a Charger Butt. And I just think against bugs that the Reprimand is a lot more awkward since it's just good against the medium bugs that I named. And again, it's not one-handed, so you can't take advantage of running away and shooting. It basically plays like an assault rifle. Now, let me know what you guys think after playing with this gun. I much more prefer this against the bots rather than the bugs. I just think it makes way more sense there, given that it's much more effective against the mobs that the bots have to offer. All right, so now for the Halt shotgun, and this is an interesting one. This shotgun has a pretty meaty damage of 385, medium, penetrating, Punisher-style weapon, or you can switch it over as programmable ammo to light penetrating stun rounds, and these also have lower damage, so keep that in mind. If you want to do damage, you have to be on the medium pen flechette rounds. Now, this shotgun I think is going to be a weird one for a lot of people at first, and it's going to take some getting used to. At least it was for me, because there's a pretty interesting mini game of shooting something with the stun rounds, then swapping over to the flechette rounds. It's a bit hard to get used to at first when it comes to muscle memory, but I think people will enjoy both firing modes of this gun. So first of all, let's just talk about the medium penetrating flechette rounds. They do nearly as much damage as a regular Punisher. I think it's only 20 damage less, but it's medium penetrating, which is much better. The main thing you'll notice is the spread is pretty wide, so you mainly want to use this at pretty close ranges, but when you're in those close ranges, it kills things really, really fast, and it feels really, really good to shoot. Against both factions, it actually feels pretty good damage-wise. Now, given that it's a shotgun, I think this will find more of a home against the bugs, but it is pretty good against the bots. More on that in a second, because let's talk about the little mini game you have to play. So how I started using this shotgun, it was awkward at first because you're used to reloading in between shots like the normal Punishers. However, what you kind of have to get used to is shoot the stun rounds at enemies, basically to start off the fight, but instead of reloading between shots, don't reload and then switch over to the medium flechette rounds and blast that and reload in between shots. So that's why I say it's a little bit weird for muscle memory, because you don't want to reload in between shots when you're doing the stun rounds, then you have to swap, and then you want to reload in between rounds with the medium pen rounds. And this is where I'll recommend, if anyone from Arrowhead is watching this, give us a hotkey to swap the programmable ammo. That would make this shotgun feel a lot more fun to use, in my opinion. With that being said, though, even though it is a bit weird, in its current state, it can do some pretty cool things, and I think the more you use it and get used to it, the more it will grow on you. So for one, the stun rounds can actually just totally stun chargers with 1 shot to the butt, which is kind of insane utility in my opinion. For number 2, you could just use this as primarily a stunning weapon which you can sometimes have as a backup insanely powerful flechette rounds. For example, you could stun enemies and then swap over to your support weapon, which is much less awkward than swapping between the programmable ammo. And keep in mind, you only need to shoot each enemy pretty much once. It stuns charger butts in one round. On groups of smaller mobs, you can actually stun multiple of them in a single shot. Like, swapping between the ammo is awkward, but each ammo individually is very, very powerful. And keep in mind how powerful this is gonna be for stalkers, being able to stun them for like 3 to 4 seconds at a time. It actually stuns enemies for a really long time. It doesn't just stagger them. It literally locks them down like they got hit by a stun grenade. The medium penetration shots make it feel really good against alpha commanders and hive guards. It's a bit trickier against bile spewers because you do need to get close to them. One other thing I'd like to mention is I wish there was a more obvious way to know what rounds were in your gun without checking. I have to go back in the game and see if the lever is swapped to a certain side, and maybe I could just look at that as a visual. But again, both rounds are very powerful in their own right. And the stun, like I said, seems to last for at least 3 to 4 seconds. You definitely have time to swap between the programmable ammo, or, which is even easier, like I said, stun and then swap to your support weapon. Now, even though it's a shotgun, on the bot front of things, this gun is actually useful there in my opinion. Number one, you can stun groups of devastators from pretty decent ranges, which allow you to get up close and use those flechette rounds, so there's that. Now, for those of you who were in yesterday's stream, we were using the flamethrower against bots, and I was actually using the plasma punisher to stagger devastators so I can get in closer with the flamethrower. I'm gonna be using the Halt with the flamethrower and see how that does. Now, for those of you who aren't insane like me, just basically know that the stun rounds on the Halt are way more powerful than the Pummeler's nerfed stun. The utility of them is not to be understated. For example, if you get behind a Hulk, you can stun a Hulk in one shot, swap over to the flechette rounds, and then two-shot its heatsink. The power in this gun is definitely there, and on the bot side of things, I think it might be more cool as a utility tool to just lock down groups of mobs, have your teammates take them out, or again, swap over to your support weapon. It'll probably be more common to see this being used on bug missions though, just because it's a shotgun. You know, bugs are much more closer ranged enemies, but I think people will definitely have fun with this gun on bots. I know I will, at least. I'm gonna be trying this thing out and seeing what builds I can make with it. Okay, so now moving on to the Loyalist, basically Purifier pistol. This is a slightly weaker version of the Purifier, and it has pretty low ammo in pistol form. Now, the Purifier has a base damage of 175, the Loyalist has a uncharged damage of 125. The Purifier has a max charge damage of 500, but the Loyalist has a max charge damage of 350. Now, I had fun with this gun against both factions. However, there's only 7 in the mag and 4 magazines total. Not really a lot of bullets to work with, but the power really is there. Now, the coolest thing I realized that this gun can do is, because it's one-handed, you can actually run away while charging up bullets, so that's pretty awesome. And the charge shots are probably the way to go just because of the low ammo capacity. You could spam this if you really need to, but for example, using a full magazine with no charge up will only give you 875 damage total, while a magazine that was fully charged up will give you 2450 damage. It is a pretty big difference, so definitely go for charge shots whenever you can. Now, on the bug side of things, I found this to be a good sidearm that is great at killing groups of enemies spawning from breaches, but also notably, this can kill chargers and impalers. It is 4 full charge shots to take out a charger's butt, but you can also do like 3 full charge shots and then just spam the rest of the clip at it. You could definitely stun a charger and kill it before the stun wears off using this pistol. And for impalers, I pretty much just tried to full charge all my shots against them until it ended up dying. And this pistol is also great for bile spewer maps. Bile spewers can be really annoying when you get caught not having the right weapon against them. In a pinch, the Loyalist pistol takes them out in like 2 to 3 full charge shots. In general, this pistol is really cool. It's just a lot of like burst damage in sidearm form because it, you know, the ammo count is pretty small. It's not a lot of sustained damage. It's just like you can do a lot of damage in a pinch when you really need to. And keep in mind, this gun is also very useful for spore towers. Remember, I said a magazine of full charge shots does 2450 damage, and most of that is durable, not all of it. I think you could take a spore tower out in maybe like 9 or 10 shots, full charge by the way, because spore towers are 2500 health. Now, on the other hand, for you Quasar lovers against bugs, shoot 1 Quasar at the tower, which does 2150 damage to it, And then it's just a few more shots from this pistol. It's honestly really solid. It's really good utility. I like this pistol. I don't know how much I'll bring it. We'll have to see in the future. Every game I brought it, when I tested it out, I really enjoyed using it. And on the bot side of things, it's pretty much the same deal. It is a pocket weapon that can take out Devastators in a few charge shots, and it also staggers them. It's also great for Berserkers, given that you can run away and send some charge shots at them. It is so cool that you could charge this up while running away. And it's also a little pocket purifier that is pretty good for gunships. Anyone who's used to charging up shots against gunships using the purifier, you will notice this pistol taking them out in maybe 1 or 2 extra shots. I would really like if Arrowhead gave this gun like 1 or 2 extra magazines, but in general, it honestly is pretty solid. Anyone who's using supply pack will enjoy this gun, and that's a lot of you out there already. All right, so now for the Deadsprint Booster. A ton of people were speculating that this booster would be bad. It just didn't sound like a really good effect, or that it would be a detriment, or people would grief with it. However, I've tested this booster and I honestly think it seems solid. But wait, there's more, because you might have tried this booster and realized that it's draining a ton of your health. I actually had to edit this part in because when I had first tested it, I thought it was fine. It didn't drain that much health. But then I just hopped into a solo to get a clip and realized it was draining a ton of my health. You have to use this booster with Vitality only in squads. If you're trying to use it solo, I think it's horrible. It drains so much health. It's ridiculous. But with Vitality Booster, it's not bad. Now, I'm gonna run the rest of what I recorded before. Just keep in mind I had to edit this part in, and you have to use it with Vitality Booster. So what this booster does is it allows you to keep running when you're out of stamina, but it drains health instead. First of all, the amount of health it drains is very, very minimal. It really doesn't drain a lot of health at all. And running out of stamina and being able to keep running is a powerful effect. Now, I just kind of tested this booster. I'll have to actually play it in a lot more games to really say how good it is. But I think people will like it given that the amount of health it drains is just not a lot. Like, you'll be able to run really, really far distances before your health bar runs out. And here is the best thing that I noticed is that once you get to 1 HP, this booster stops working. It can't kill you. So if you're wearing Democracy Protects, for example, you live a shot and you sprint to run away, you won't randomly die. And no, Democracy wasn't protecting me. It actually stops working once you're at 1 HP. So some people were worried about that and they were saying it would really suck if they happened to be 1 HP and started sprinting and died, but that literally can't happen. Now, I'll be interested to see how people like this booster. I think at the very least, it's kind of a side grade to the Stamina Booster. The Stamina Booster gives you more stamina, and I think it allows you to run a little bit faster as well, but this booster just allows for infinite running even when you're out. You know, a ton of stuff in this game, 1 or 2 or 3 shots you anyway, so being able to just keep running and avoid damage is kind of much better than the alternative. There's also a lot of other stuff that just drains stamina, like dodging, crouch sliding, even using the jetpack uses stamina. And when this booster is active, you get a little bleeding visual on your screen, so you will know when you're out of stamina and you're losing health. If you don't want to, just stop running and let your stamina come back. With that being said though, some people probably still won't like it, but honestly, I think the HP loss isn't that bad. It's probably a solid option in my opinion. Although I'll have to try it a lot more, I'll definitely be taking this over stamina in the next few games I play. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the Unflinching Armor Passive. Now, this is the passive I've tested the least since I've been using recoil armor with the new SMG, but I have to be the breaker of bad news. The Superstore did not come with a heavy variant of this armor. I tried the medium version against bots because we only have light or medium armor. And guess what? Medium armor just is not that tanky at all. I might not have been flinching, but the bots were just straight up killing me when they were shooting at me and I was letting them do it. I really think this is unfortunately a miss on Arrowhead's part because everyone really wanted a heavy variant of armor with this passive on it. But I could think of one situation, don't worry, I got you guys, where this armor will come in handy, and that will be charge up weapons like the railgun, quasar, arc thrower, stuff like that when you're using a shield pack. So I can think of multiple times when I had a shield pack and a railgun and a rocket Hulk shot a rocket at me and staggered me. Or I could think of a couple times when I was shooting a quasar at a Bile Titan and a little bug staggered me. I think this armor might be really interesting to use with charge weapons. The effect just in general seemed a little bit underwhelming to me. I kind of wish this armor had a second passive on it. But what I will say is this is the armor I've tested the least, so I really won't say much more about it. I don't really want to mislead anyone. It might be better than I think, but my first impression is that it's a bit underwhelming. So let me know what you guys think about this Warbond in the comments down below, because I've been reading the top comments. I could respond to some of them in the next video. Maybe I'll learn something from you guys who have tested this stuff out. Now for the first top comment from Ganevlock, I'm sorry I butchered your name. He says, being considered prone while ragdolling on the ground means you gain resistance to explosions and extinguish yourself if you're on fire. It will be a huge change. Now, Arrowhead said they were testing this change, and they may add this to some of the ragdoll nerfs that they're going to be doing for us in the future. And I did not pick up on this until I read your comment. This actually is really huge, so thanks for commenting this and filling me in on it, because I didn't really realize how big of a change this could be. I think it'll be really awesome. We'll just have to wait until it comes before I can really say much else about this. So for the next top comment from BeggieBX, emotes cannot be triggered while airborne. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. I 100% agree with you. I think emote while flying was one of the memeiest, funniest things. I really think they should put it back. They even put a little note that said, we'll be monitoring the community. I don't even know why they did that, because I swear to God, they should already know. A bunch of people would have complained about this. It wasn't even that OP that sometimes it could negate fall damage. It didn't even do it all the time. It was honestly way funnier just to emote while midair and watch yourself fall to the ground while T-posing. I really think they should put it back. And then the final comment from Rocklum says, just give Rocket Strider a laser pointer when preparing to shoot a rocket. Delay its firing by 2 seconds, then fire it off. Problem solved. Telegraph. And unfortunately, Rocklum, this was a really good thought, but I disagree with you. Delete Rocket Striders from the game. All right, no, that's true. If they actually make them have really telegraphed attacks, maybe it'll be much better. But I also just think that Rocket Striders are really bad for stuff like mechs against the bots. Mechs always didn't feel the best armor-wise against the bots, but every time I tested them ever since Rocket Striders came out, they literally die so fast. And keep in mind, it's also bad for stuff like the shield emplacement. A bunch of people have noticed that the shield emplacement goes down super often. Well, it has a bigger radius and there's a ton of Rocket Striders in the game. The Rocket Striders need much more done to them than just telegraphed attacks. And I honestly do stand by it, just delete them from the game. It is what it is. It's just a bad enemy in my opinion. It sucks, you know, Arrowhead spent a lot of time making it, but I just don't like them. So that's my opinion. And if you disagree with me, go ahead and put a comment down below. I'll read your guys' top comments next time. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried all the weapons from the new Warbond, and I think they're very powerful. I'm definitely gonna be using that SMG a lot against bots. It is so good. And I'm also gonna be using the Halt, and we're gonna be live streaming, doing more flamethrower builds against the bots. So be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, or join the Discord to get the live notifications for when we do end up streaming on this YouTube channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.